Commander Halleck stood on the bridge of the massive Imperial warship Dominance as it moved through the dark space toward a small yellow star. His blue skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his 4 eyes focused on the screen showing the third planet ahead. According to the reports, this world had started making radio signals just a few years ago. This meant the creatures living there had probably just learned to make electricity. Another primitive world, Halleck said to his crew. We will follow the usual plan. Land, study them, and decide if they are worth keeping alive or if we should take their planet. The Zephyrian Galactic Empire had done this thousands of times before. They would find worlds where simple creatures had just learned to make fire or work with metal. Sometimes these creatures threw rocks at Imperial ships. Sometimes they ran away and hid in caves. It was always the same boring routine. Lieutenant NYX looked up from her control station. Her green tentacles moved quickly over the buttons as she read the sensors. Sir, I am getting strange readings from the planet. What kind of strange? Halleck asked, not really interested. He had heard this before. Sometimes primitive worlds had unusual minerals or weird weather. There are metal objects moving around the planet in perfect circles. And the surface, there are bright lights everywhere, arranged in patterns. Halleck walked over to look at her screen. His confidence started to fade. The display showed hundreds of small metal objects orbiting the planet in neat formations. No primitive species had ever put objects in space before. The planet's surface was covered with geometric shapes that glowed with artificial light. Cities. Massive cities that stretched for hundreds of miles. That cannot be right, Halleck muttered. Check the sensors again. Before NYX could respond, Communications Officer Drell spoke up. Commander, we are receiving a message from the planet. It is in perfect galactic standard language. Impossible, Halleck said. Primitive species do not know our language. They barely know their own language. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at a human face. The creature had pale skin, gray hair, and small eyes. But it wore a crisp military uniform covered with medals and insignia that showed high rank and authority. Greetings, Commander Halleck of the Imperial ship Dominance. I am Admiral Blake Thompson of Earth Defense Command. We have been monitoring your approach for the past 6 hours. Welcome to our solar system. We have prepared docking facilities for your ship if you wish to meet in person. The bridge fell completely silent. Halleck felt his 4 hearts beating faster. This creature knew his name. It knew the name of his ship. And it spoke as if it had been expecting them. How do you know who we are? Halleck managed to ask. Admiral Thompson smiled. We detected your energy signature when you entered our outer sensor range. We have been studying Imperial ship designs for some time now. Your Dominance-class vessel has a very distinctive gravitational footprint. Science Officer Keth gasped. Sir, they have sensors that can detect us from 12 astronomical units away. Our own sensors only detected them when we reached 4 units. Halleck stared at the human on the screen. According to Imperial records, these creatures had only discovered electricity 200 years ago. They should be using wooden clubs and living in mud huts. Yet here was one speaking about gravitational footprints and sensor ranges like an experienced fleet commander. Admiral Thompson, Halleck said slowly, our records indicate your species is new to technology. The human laughed, a strange sound that seemed to indicate amusement rather than aggression. I suppose we are, compared to your people. We only achieved spaceflight 60 years ago. But we have been making rapid progress. 60 years. Keth whispered. Impossible. It takes most species at least 1,000 years to go from first flight to space travel. Admiral Thompson heard him. Yes, we have heard that from other species we have encountered. We seem to work a bit differently. Would you like to see our facilities? I think you might find them interesting. As the Imperial ship moved closer to Earth, Halleck watched in growing amazement. Sleek spacecraft rose from the planet's surface to escort them. These ships moved with precision and grace, performing maneuvers that Imperial pilots trained for decades to master. The vessels were clearly designed by beings who understood advanced physics and engineering. The space stations orbiting Earth were marvels of construction. They rotated slowly, creating artificial gravity through centrifugal force. Solar collection arrays stretched for miles, feeding power to massive manufacturing facilities that worked continuously. Ships arrived and departed in steady streams, carrying cargo and passengers to destinations throughout the solar system. Sir, NYX reported, I am detecting installations on 7 different planets and 12 moons in this system. All appear to be inhabited and actively mining resources. Halleck felt dizzy. The Empire had taken 3,000 years to spread across their home system. These humans had done it in decades. As the Dominance approached Earth's primary orbital station, Admiral Thompson's face reappeared on the screen. "Commander, we have prepared a conference room for our meeting. I hope you do not mind, but I have invited some of our leading scientists and engineers. They are very excited to meet representatives of the Galactic Empire." "Scientists and engineers?" Alex asked weakly. "Yes, we have quite a few questions about your technology. We have been studying the wreckage of an Imperial probe that crashed on our world about 20 years ago. We learned a great deal from it, but there are still some aspects we have not figured out." Alex remembered that probe. It had been lost during a routine survey mission. The technology it contained was centuries ahead of anything these humans should have been able to understand. As the Imperial shuttle prepared to dock with the human station, Alex realized that everything he thought he knew about primitive species was wrong. These humans were not primitive. They were something entirely different, something the Empire had never encountered before. And that terrified him more than any weapon could. The conference room aboard the human space station was unlike anything Commander Alex had ever seen. The walls displayed moving images of star charts, technical diagrams, and what appeared to be real-time views of construction projects happening across Earth's solar system. Human officers sat around a curved table that seemed to be made from a single piece of some unknown crystal material. Dr. Emma Williams smiled as she gestured to the holographic displays floating above the table. She was a small human with brown hair and bright eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "We hope you don't mind the casual presentation, Commander. We know Imperial meetings are usually more formal." Alex tried to maintain his composure, but everything about this situation felt wrong. Dr. Williams spoke as if she had attended Imperial meetings before. She knew their customs and protocols. How was that possible? "Dr. Williams," Alex said carefully, "how long has your species been studying our civilization?" "Oh, about 15 years now," she replied cheerfully. "Ever since we found your probe. It taught us so much about Imperial technology and culture. We were able to decode your language databases quite easily once we understood the mathematical foundations." Science Officer Keth shifted uncomfortably in his chair. 15 years to decode Imperial standard? That should take centuries of linguistic study. Dr. Williams tilted her head. "Really? We had our computers working on it. Once they identified the basic patterns, the rest followed naturally. We actually learned 6 other galactic languages at the same time. The Andorian and Rigelian databases were particularly helpful." Admiral Thompson leaned forward. He was an older human with gray hair and calm eyes that reminded Alex of veteran Imperial commanders. "Dr. Williams, why don't you show our guests what we've accomplished with the fusion technology?" "Certainly," Dr. Williams said, touching the crystal table. The air above them filled with a 3-dimensional image of a massive facility. "This is our newest fusion plant. It came online last month. We're generating about 12 times more power than our previous designs." Imperial Chief Scientist Vorth stared at the display with his mouth open. 12 times? How is that possible? "We improved the magnetic containment system using principles we learned from your probe," Dr. Williams explained. "But we also added our own innovations. The containment field adjusts itself automatically based on plasma density readings. It took our team about 8 months to work out the details." 8 months? Vorth whispered. His own people had spent decades perfecting their fusion technology, and these humans had surpassed it in less than a year. Captain James Mitchell, a tall human with sharp features and alert eyes, activated another display. "We've also made some progress with defensive systems." The probe's data included specifications for energy shields, which we found quite interesting. The new hologram showed a sleek human warship surrounded by a shimmering barrier. Energy beams struck the shield and harmlessly dispersed. "We reverse-engineered the basic shield technology in about 18 months, Captain Mitchell continued. Then our team started experimenting with improvements. The current version can absorb energy attacks and redirect that power back to our weapons systems." Alex felt his blood turn cold. Imperial shields were purely defensive. The idea of turning shield energy into weapon power had been theoretical for centuries, but no Imperial scientist had ever made it work. "How many people worked on this project?" Keth asked. Dr. Williams counted on her fingers. "Let me see, the primary team had about 40 scientists and engineers. But we had support from 12 other research groups working on related problems. Oh, and the university students contributed quite a bit during their summer projects." "Students?" Vorth asked faintly. University students, Dr. Williams nodded. Young people studying advanced physics and engineering. They often have fresh perspectives on complex problems. Some of our best breakthroughs come from student projects. Admiral Thompson smiled at the shocked expressions on the Imperial officers' faces. Perhaps you would like to see our manufacturing facilities? Dr. Hayes has been making remarkable progress with automated production systems. Dr. Robert Hayes was a thin human with quick hands and an excited manner of speaking. He activated a new set of displays showing vast factory complexes that seemed to build themselves as they watched. Traditional manufacturing follows fixed patterns, Dr. Hayes explained. You design a factory, build it, and then it produces the same product the same way for decades. We decided that was inefficient. Inefficient how? Keth asked. Our factories redesign themselves constantly, Dr. Hayes said. Artificial intelligence systems monitor every aspect of production and identify improvements in real time. When one system finds a better way to do something, it shares that information with all the other systems instantly. The holographic factories showed production lines that flowed like water, changing configuration as they worked. Robotic arms moved in complex dances, building products with impossible precision and speed. This facility increased its efficiency by 400% last week alone, Dr. Hayes continued. The AI systems discovered that by adjusting the molecular structure of our building materials, they could create stronger components using less raw material. Hallex watched machines that seemed to think for themselves, constantly improving and adapting. Imperial factories had used the same basic designs for thousands of years. Change came slowly, through careful committee decisions and extensive testing periods. Dr. Hayes, Hallex asked slowly, how often do your production systems change? Every few hours, usually, Dr. Hayes replied. Sometimes every few minutes if they are working on a particularly complex problem. The important thing is that every improvement gets shared across our entire industrial network instantly. Captain Mitchell leaned back in his chair. We found that speed of adaptation is more important than perfection of initial design. It's better to start with something good and make it better quickly than to spend decades trying to make something perfect from the beginning. As the meeting continued, Hallex realized he was witnessing something that challenged everything the Empire understood about technological development. These humans didn't just learn fast, they learned in ways that seemed to violate natural law. They shared information instantly, adapted continuously, and improved at rates that made Imperial progress look glacially slow. The pattern was clear now, and it terrified him. Humanity wasn't just different from other species. They were evolving at a speed that would soon make the Empire obsolete. 6 months had passed since the first meeting, and Commander Hallex stood in his command center reading reports that made no sense. His hands shook as he held the data pad containing information that should have been impossible. Sir, Lieutenant NYX said quietly, we have confirmed sightings of human ships in the Proxima system, the Wolf system, and the Barnard system. All 3 locations are over 4 light-years from Earth. Hallex stared at the star map displaying red dots marking human presence. That cannot be right. Check the reports again. I have checked them 5 times, sir. The ships are definitely human design, but they are moving faster than our best vessels. Science Officer Keth walked over with another data pad. His face was pale, and his hands trembled slightly. Commander, I have analyzed the engine signatures from the human ships. They are using our gravitational manipulation technology, but they have changed it somehow. Changed it how? Hallex asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. They have made it 3 times more efficient than our version, Keth whispered. Their ships can travel the same distance using 1/3 of the power our ships require. On the main screen, a recording showed sleek human vessels moving through an asteroid field with impossible grace. The ships twisted and turned between floating rocks, performing maneuvers that would have destroyed Imperial vessels. They moved like living creatures rather than mechanical constructs. How are they controlling their ships with such precision? Hallex muttered. His question was answered when Dr. Robert Hayes contacted them from Earth. The thin human appeared on the communication screen with his usual excited expression. Commander Hallex. Perfect timing. We were just about to test our new navigation system. Would you like to observe? Before Hallex could respond, the screen split to show the bridge of a human exploration vessel. The ship's captain, a woman with short red hair named Captain Sarah Mills, sat in a chair surrounded by displays that seemed to respond to her thoughts. The neural interface links directly with the ship's artificial intelligence, Dr. Hayes explained. Captain Mills thinks about where she wants to go, and the ship calculates the optimal path instantly. The AI can process millions of variables simultaneously, adjusting course for gravitational fields, solar winds, and even microscopic debris. Captain Mills smiled and touched her temple. Immediately, her ship began moving through space in a complex pattern that avoided every obstacle while maintaining maximum speed. The interface learns from each pilot, Dr. Hayes continued. Every flight teaches the system new techniques. Within weeks, all human ships benefit from every pilot's experience. Alex watched in horror as the human ship performed maneuvers that his best pilots had never even attempted. The vessel spun through space like a dancer, moving with perfect efficiency toward its destination. Dr. Hayes, Alex said weakly, how long did it take to develop this technology? About 4 months, Dr. Hayes replied casually. We started with basic neural monitoring equipment and kept improving it. The breakthrough came when we realized that human intuition could guide AI calculations better than pure logic alone. 4 months. The Empire's most advanced navigation systems had taken centuries to develop, and they were nowhere near as sophisticated as what these humans had created in a single season. Reports continued arriving from across Imperial space. Human trading vessels appeared at distant stations, offering technologies that made Imperial equipment look primitive. Human exploration ships discovered new worlds and established colonies with impossible speed. Chief Engineer Zolt came to Alex with trembling hands, carrying a report about human manufacturing. Sir, they have built a factory ship that creates other ships while traveling through space. It mines asteroids for raw materials and produces finished vessels in days. Days? Alex asked. The factory ship rebuilds itself constantly as it works, Zolt explained. It learns more efficient ways to process materials and construct hulls. Each ship it produces is better than the last one. Alex closed his eyes, trying to understand how such rapid improvement was possible. Imperial shipyards had used the same construction methods for millennia. Changes required years of testing and approval by engineering committees. The situation became even worse when Imperial intelligence reported that humans had cracked their most secure communication codes. These were encryption systems that had protected Imperial secrets for over 1,000 years. Colonel Patricia Reed appeared on a secure channel, her calm voice making the devastating news sound routine. The decryption process was actually quite straightforward once we applied machine learning algorithms to the problem. Our computer networks identified the mathematical patterns within about 3 weeks. 3 weeks, gasped Imperial Security Chief Vax. We used distributed processing, Colonel Reed explained. Thousands of computers working together, sharing information instantly. Each computer learned from the discoveries of all the others. Once the pattern emerged, breaking the code became a simple matter of computational power. Admiral Thekmore, the Empire's supreme military commander, convened an emergency meeting of the High Command. The ancient Zephyrian looked tired as he reviewed reports from across Imperial space. In 6 months, he said slowly, these humans have achieved technological advances that should have taken centuries. Their ships outperform ours. Their manufacturing exceeds our capacity. Their computer systems crack our most sophisticated security. How is this possible? Asked General Korth. They do not follow our methods, Admiral Thekmore replied. We develop technology through careful planning and gradual improvement. They develop technology through constant experimentation and instant sharing of results. Every human success immediately becomes available to all other humans. Alex submitted his latest report with growing dread. Human colonies were appearing throughout contested regions of space, using terraforming techniques that violated everything the Empire understood about planetary engineering. Worlds that should have taken centuries to become habitable were transformed in months. The humans were not just advancing rapidly. They were accelerating their rate of advancement. Each breakthrough enabled faster breakthroughs. Each improvement made the next improvement easier to achieve. The Empire had encountered something beyond their experience, a species that treated impossibility as a temporary inconvenience and solved it with the casual efficiency of beings who expected miracles to be routine. 1 year had passed since first contact, and Commander Alex found himself standing on the surface of a world that should not exist. New Eden had been a dead rock floating in space just 8 months ago. Imperial surveys had classified it as completely lifeless, no atmosphere, no water, no possibility of supporting any form of life. Now, Alex breathed clean air under a blue sky while standing in a field of green grass that stretched to distant mountains. Rivers flowed through valleys filled with trees that swayed in gentle breezes. Cities rose from the landscape like crystals, their towers reaching toward clouds that drifted peacefully overhead. Welcome to New Eden, Commander, said Major Lisa Foster, a tall human woman with blonde hair and confident eyes. "I hope you had a comfortable journey." Alex turned in a slow circle, trying to process what he was seeing. "This is impossible. Our records show this world was completely barren. No atmosphere, no water, surface temperature below freezing." Major Foster smiled. "It was exactly as your records describe. We began terraforming operations 11 months ago. The basic atmospheric conversion took about 6 weeks. Soil development required another month. The ecosystem establishment phase lasted about 4 months." Ecosystem establishment? Alex asked weakly. "Creating balanced relationships between all the living things," Major Foster explained simply. "Plants, animals, insects, bacteria, everything needed to make the world sustain itself. Would you like to see how it works?" She led him to a nearby facility that hummed with quiet activity. Through transparent walls, Alex could see vast chambers filled with organisms he did not recognize. Some looked like plants but moved like animals. Others resembled machines but seemed to be alive. Dr. Michael Brooks, a young human with eager eyes and quick movements, greeted them at the entrance. "Commander. Perfect timing. We just finished adapting the nitrogen-fixing organisms for the northern continent." Nitrogen-fixing organisms? Alex repeated. "Modified bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms that plants can use," Dr. Brooks explained cheerfully. "We designed them to work with our engineered soil matrices and atmospheric processes. Each organism is specifically adapted to its environment, but they all work together as a complete system." Alex watched through the transparent walls as robotic systems tended to countless containers of strange life forms. "How long did it take to design these organisms?" "The basic designs took about 3 months, Dr. Brooks replied. "But we are constantly improving them. The organisms we released last week are already 15% more efficient than the ones we used 6 months ago." Imperial terraforming specialist QYX examined readings on a portable scanner. His tentacles trembled as he looked at the data. "Commander, the atmospheric composition is optimal for 17 different species simultaneously. This should be impossible." "Why impossible?" Dr. Brooks asked with genuine curiosity. "Because different species require different atmospheric conditions," QYX explained. "Creating an atmosphere suitable for one species makes it hostile to others. You cannot optimize for multiple species at once." Dr. Brooks nodded thoughtfully. "That would be true if you used traditional atmospheric engineering. We use adaptive atmospheric management instead. Our monitoring systems track the needs of every living thing on the planet in real time. When organisms need different conditions, the system creates microenvironments that provide exactly what each species requires." He showed them a holographic display of the planet's atmosphere. Instead of being uniform, it contained thousands of tiny zones, each with slightly different characteristics. The zones shifted and flowed like a living thing, constantly adjusting to support the life within them. "The system learns from every change it makes," Dr. Brooks continued. "When it discovers a more efficient way to support life, it shares that information across the entire planetary network. The atmosphere actually gets better at supporting life over time." Alex felt dizzy. Imperial terraforming doctrine required centuries of careful planning followed by millennia of gradual atmospheric adjustment. These humans had created a living planet in less time than it took the Empire to file the paperwork for a terraforming project. As they toured the growing cities, Major Foster explained how human colonial development worked. "We do not build static cities," she said. "Our urban centers grow and adapt based on the needs of their inhabitants and the changing environment. The buildings around them seem to pulse gently, their walls shifting color and texture in response to changing conditions. Streets widened or narrowed as traffic patterns required. Parks expanded when more recreational space was needed, then contracted when housing became more important." "How do the buildings know what changes to make?" Alex asked. "Artificial intelligence networks monitor everything," Major Foster explained. "Population density, resource usage, weather patterns, social dynamics, millions of variables processed constantly. When the systems detect a need for change, they implement solutions immediately." They stopped at a medical facility where Dr. Jennifer Walsh was treating patients with techniques that seemed to border on magic. Alex watched as she healed a construction worker's broken arm using a device that looked like a simple metal wand. "Cellular regeneration therapy," Dr. Walsh explained. "We encourage the body's own repair systems to work faster and more efficiently. The treatment takes about 10 minutes for most injuries." "What about diseases?" Alex asked. We prevent most diseases through genetic therapy, Dr. Walsh replied. Our treatments enhance the immune system's natural abilities. For new diseases, our medical AI systems can develop targeted treatments in hours rather than years. Reports reached Commander Alex from across the galaxy that painted an even more disturbing picture. The Andorian Trade Federation had secretly begun adopting human organizational techniques and achieved productivity increases that defied explanation. The Rigel Mining Consortium reported extraction rates that exceeded their previous capabilities by over 500% after implementing human management systems. Species that had remained technologically stagnant for millennia were suddenly making rapid advances simply by copying human methods. But even more troubling, these client species were advancing faster than they ever had before, yet still fell far behind human capabilities. Emperor ZYXthol received reports of human achievements that seemed to mock everything the Empire had accomplished in 3,000 years of galactic dominance. Humans extended lifespans by decades through treatments developed in months. They created governmental systems that adapted to changing needs without losing stability. They built infrastructure that repaired and improved itself automatically. Alex realized that humanity had not just surpassed the Empire, they had redefined what advancement meant. 2 years after first contact, Emperor ZYXthol sat alone in his vast throne room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the collapse of everything his ancestors had built. The Galactic Empire, which had ruled space for 3,000 years through superior technology and military might, was becoming irrelevant with each passing day. The latest reports made his ancient heart ache with fear and confusion. Human colonies now communicated instantly across distances that took Imperial messages weeks to cross. Their response time to galactic emergencies was faster than Imperial bureaucracy could even process the initial reports about those emergencies. A soft chime announced the arrival of Admiral Catherine Stone. The human woman walked into the throne room with calm confidence, wearing a simple blue uniform that somehow seemed more impressive than the elaborate ceremonial armor of Imperial generals. Behind her walked several other humans, each carrying data devices that glowed with soft light. Your Imperial Majesty, Admiral Stone said with a respectful bow. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Emperor ZYXthol studied the humans with his 4 ancient eyes. Admiral Stone, I have read the reports about your people's recent achievements. I confess I do not understand how any of this is possible. Admiral Stone smiled gently. We understand your confusion, Your Majesty. We often surprise ourselves with what we can accomplish when we work together. She activated a holographic display that showed the Cygnus trade route, one of the Empire's most important commercial pathways. The route had been slowly failing for centuries as stellar drift gradually destabilized the hyperspace corridors that allowed faster-than-light travel. The Cygnus route will collapse completely within the next 50 years, Admiral Stone explained. Our scientists have developed a method to stabilize it using gravitational anchors linked to your existing infrastructure. General David Murphy, a tall human with gray hair and steady hands, activated additional displays. The stabilization process would take about 6 months and would extend the route's usable life by at least 10,000 years. Emperor ZYXthol stared at the technical diagrams. Imperial engineers had been studying the Cygnus problem for 3 centuries. Their best solution would require over 100 years of construction involving the combined resources of 12 star systems. 6 months, the Emperor whispered. Our approach uses self-assembling gravitational resonators, General Murphy explained. Each resonator builds itself from local materials and coordinates with the others through quantum communication links. The system becomes more stable as more resonators come online. Dr. Alice Parker, a small human woman with bright eyes and quick gestures, showed additional displays of other galactic problems that had plagued the Empire for millennia. We have also developed solutions for stellar revitalization, solar flare management, and asteroid impact prevention. The displays showed techniques that seemed to treat dying stars like patients in need of medicine, methods for controlling the violent magnetic storms that disrupted interstellar commerce, and systems for redirecting dangerous space rocks before they could threaten inhabited worlds. Your Majesty, Admiral Stone said quietly, we are not offering these technologies as bargaining tools or trade leverage. Galactic stability benefits everyone. We would like to establish joint research initiatives with the Empire and other galactic civilizations. Emperor ZYXthol felt something he had not experienced in centuries, confusion about his own relevance. Why would you freely share such valuable knowledge? Dr. Parker tilted her head as if the question puzzled her. Knowledge becomes more valuable when it is shared, not less valuable. When we teach others our methods, they often discover improvements we never considered. Everyone benefits. But what do you gain from this arrangement? The Emperor asked. We gain partners in solving problems that affect the entire galaxy, General Murphy replied. Some challenges are too large for any one civilization to handle alone. Climate control for gas giant storms, management of galactic magnetic field fluctuations, prevention of dark matter accumulations, these require cooperation across many star systems. Admiral Stone activated a new display showing a galaxy-wide communication network. We have developed instant communication technology using quantum entanglement. Every major civilization could be connected in real time, allowing coordinated responses to any crisis. The Emperor stared at the network diagram. Imperial communications relied on courier ships and relay stations that took weeks or months to carry messages across galactic distances. This human system would make distance meaningless. How long would it take to implement this network? He asked. The basic infrastructure could be operational within 1 year, Admiral Stone replied. Full coverage of all inhabited systems would require about 3 years. Commander Halex entered the throne room carrying his final report. The officer who had first encountered humanity looked older and tired, but also strangely relieved. Your Imperial Majesty, Commander Halex said formally, I have completed my comprehensive study of human civilization. Emperor ZYXthal gestured for him to proceed. Respectfully, Your Majesty, we have not encountered primitives who accidentally discovered advanced technology. We have met a species whose fundamental nature is to exceed what others consider possible. They do not follow the normal patterns of technological development because they are constantly creating new patterns. Commander Halex paused, choosing his words carefully. The question is not whether they will surpass us, they already have. The question is whether we will adapt quickly enough to remain relevant in the galaxy they are reshaping. Emperor ZYXthal looked around his throne room at the symbols of imperial power that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. Golden statues, ancient weapons, ceremonial armor, all relics of an age that was ending whether he accepted it or not. Admiral Stone, the Emperor said finally, what role do you envision for the Empire in this new galactic order? Admiral Stone's smile was warm and genuine. The same role you have always had, Your Majesty, leadership. But instead of leading through dominance, you would lead through collaboration. Your experience and wisdom, combined with our adaptive methods, could create something better than either of our civilizations could achieve alone. The age of imperial supremacy was over. The age of collaborative galactic advancement was beginning, guided by a species that had turned impossibility into routine and had accomplished it all in the brief span of cosmic time that humans called a lifetime.